This is John from ideas@excel.com, and I'm going to give you an overview of how Excel your account receivables works. So let's look at an example. Goliath National Bank shows a red 2 here, which means it's 2 days past the follow-up date. In other words, we should have contacted them yesterday. So let's contact them today. And it's very easy now. Just double click on the customer name here. And you're brought up to this screen where you see the customer contact information. Okay, so we use this information, we contact Barney. We talk to him. He states that the invoice was paid yesterday and he mailed the check to us. So let's update the notes. All you have to do is go to this symbol right here next to this, double click on it. A box will pop up and we just update our notes. And we'll update the follow-up date. We'll give them a couple days for the check to get here and save. Now you see the dashboard has been updated. This note is now, typo there, but whatever. You see that it has been updated. You'll see the customer follow-up date is now updated. So let's go back to the dashboard. Okay, and we see somebody here at a 0. That means we need to contact them today. And that's Costanza PC Sales. So let's contact them. Again, double click on the name. And this will bring up collection efforts for this invoice. However, this also shows we have 2 other invoices for Costanza PC Sales that are past due. So we talk to George. He states all the invoices will be paid on the last day of the month. So we can update, instead of updating these, we can, if we need to, update each invoice individually with a comment and that new follow-up date. Or in this case, since he stated all the invoices are going to be paid on the 30th, double click on this symbol. Invoices will be paid on the 30th. Just update all the notes at once for this customer. And update the follow-up date. Give it a couple of days to get here. And save. And now you'll see all the invoices have been updated with the new comment. Let's go back to the main menu. Okay, from the main menu, or actually from the dashboard, there's also options here to enter a new invoice or create a new customer. Same as on the main menu. Each one works the same way, but let's just go through an example of entering a new customer. Just double click on there and you'll enter the company information that you'll need to contact the customer. Now, only the company name is required to be filled out. However, I suggest you fill all this out. This will make it easier for you to collect the customer. The information's all handy right there for you. In the general information area, you can put any other information that's specific to this customer that may be handy when trying to collect, such as the owner's name, or if the company is closed on Mondays, you could add that in there. and that'll show up and make it easier for you to keep track of what's going on. So let's enter the new customer. Now the contact name is the main contact regarding your accounts receivable. So this is the person you want to call and talk to get your money. And for the phone number, you can either put, depending on how the customer is, if it's just an extension, you can enter their extension because you have the phone number here already. But if if they have a separate phone number, you can put that in there. Just depends on the customer. And you put in the customer's email to have that handy to contact them. And we'll put a note in here. Owner is Bob, and he's at extension 4222. Okay. Now, if this is checked, we'll go to enter a new invoice for this customer. If it's unchecked, you just want to record the customer's information, you can do that. But in this case, I'm going to show you how this works. So we can create a new customer. Boom. And now we can enter a invoice for them. We can enter the invoice that we're tracking. So we enter the invoice number, the amount, oops, whatever. Now the invoice date, the due date, and the follow-up date. These will populate automatically, but you can update these if needed, as needed. In the settings, which I'm not going to go over on this, but you can set some of this stuff up. Follow-up date is going to populate automatically based on invoice date and what you had entered in your original settings. This can be overridden to whatever it needs to be. All these can be. And this general invoice comment. This is a comment specifically regarding this invoice. So for instance, if you have a customer PO number and the customer always wants their PO number when you call them for contact them for payment, it's a good thing to have handy because at a lot of companies, they'll only go by their PO number. So there you go. Save it. And just like that, it's entered. In the settings area, double click on that. And I mentioned this earlier. So this is just to hopefully make your make it a little bit easier for you. So the days after ship that the invoice is done, you can either do a 1 or a 0. A 1 means it's gonna, you can use a 1 or a 0 here. It's basically kind of a little shortcut to make it a little easier for you. If you normally bill the invoice to the customer 1 day after it's shipped, then you could put that at a 1. If you bill them the same day that you ship it, you can put a 0. Again, once you get down to the actual invoices, you can override this easily, but this is to hopefully save you a few keystrokes. Default number of days that the invoice is due. Again, if you enter an invoice today, depending on this, it's going to set the follow-up date or the invoice due date for 30 days. Again, once you get into entering the invoices, that'll hopefully, save you a second or two. The default follow-up days from the due date, so this is what's going to trigger Excel your AR to tell you you need to follow up with this customer. So in this instance, with a 7 there, if the invoice date is due on the 1st, then Excel your AR is going to wait till the 8th to tell you it's the day you need to contact this customer. Now you can put a negative number in there if you like. So if you're a very proactive company and you like to call the customer 2 days before the invoice is due, you could just put a -2 on there, and that will trigger you to contact that customer 2 days before it's due. So that's a quick overview of Excel your AR.